And welcome, everybody. We are back with the WyoNation Roundup. I am your host, Chad Smith, and I'm joined, as always, by Mr. Brad Reed. How you doing tonight, Brad?
Oh, we're here. It's the postseason, so lots of good football ahead.
That's right. The postseason is here. The regular season of the 2023 version of college football is over. Your Wyoming Cowboys finished 8-4. And I guess we'll just jump right into that, Brad. I remember the season went so fast. It seems like yesterday we were talking about what is the ceiling for this team. And I think 8-4 is pretty much the number that we settled on. So we nailed the high point.
Yep. And, we still got one game left. So, we can hit that 9-win ceiling, which hasn't been done since 2000 something. It's been a while.
I think 1996 is what I've seen.
Yeah, that's right.
No, I haven't done the research. We will verify that. We have plenty of time between now and then. Yep, 25 days until the bowl game, and we'll get into that more later. But let's talk about the end of the season here. Wyoming with two of the most dominating wins you'll see, and I just looked at this. I think you'll be hard pressed to find a time where Wyoming scored over 40 points and then held their opponents to single digits in back-to-back conference games. Now, I did do this research. It's the first time since 2016 that Wyoming scored over 40 points in back-to-back conference games.
Wow.
That was wins over Utah State and UNLV. Actually, that was a loss to UNLV, and I do believe that game was in overtime. So a little asterisk there, right? Because with the overtime rules, that was one of those crazy games that was like, I think 66-63,
That that
something crazy
was
like that.
that game got out of hand.
But I went clear back to 2009 and did not find one instance where Wyoming scored over 40 points in back-to-back conference games in regulation. I'll continue my research the rest of the week to see how far back I have to go to find that, but I'm thinking it's probably in the 90s, maybe the 80s since that last happened.
Yeah, that Hawaii game was the first time they'd scored 40 points all season. So
correct. It was their season highs, 42 in both games.
Yep.
So they did score 35 in two other games, right? The Texas Tech season opener, as well as the win over New Mexico. They hit the 35-point mark. But, yeah, pretty impressive. Now, obviously, Hawaii and Nevada are not good, but you play who's on your schedule, and Wyoming, the offense in both games looked really good.
Nevada was possibly the worst team I watched all season long.
Yes.
They were so bad.
They had some really interesting results throughout the year. Let's just bring them up.
Well, I think their only 2 wins came during conference. So
they beat San Diego State 6-0, which is still blows my mind.
Barn burner.
And then they beat New Mexico 34-24. But otherwise, the 42 they gave up to Wyoming was the third highest points they allowed all season. Followed by they allowed 45 against UNLV, and then they allowed 66 in the seasoning opener against USC Trojans.
Back when they were good.
Yes, back when USC was, ready to win the national title with unanimous number 1 draft pick Caleb Williams.
He still might be, but that defense was atrocious.
Yeah, I don't think.
Their defensive coordinator he was like a linebacker coach or something, or David Christensen, wasn't he?
Oh yeah.
He was part of Christensen's staff.
Yep, was at Wyoming. A very good coach by all accounts. You'll remember that I do believe he followed. I think he was at Wazoo for a while.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. I mean, I think he was at Ohio State at one point. Let's look him up really quick. Yeah, I mean, he took off. Wyoming found him. He really took off. This is good. We'll do some on-air research. And welcome everybody who's
he was definitely being talked about as like one of the up-and-coming, coaches in the country. But those last seasons at Oklahoma and USC really did him in.
Oh, okay. I remember now. So, again, he played his college football at Mount Union, which is Division 2 or 3?
3, I think.
I think they're the Division 3 power. They've won, I think at one stretch they won 5 national titles in a row or something. You could look that up. But I forgot. Then he was a GA at Missouri, and that's when he left. So he was at Missouri as a GA and then New Hampshire as a coach. He came to Wyoming, and then he went back to Missouri. And then he was at Washington State, Ohio State, Oklahoma, and USC. So he was with Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma. Lincoln Riley brought him from Oklahoma to USC. And then Lincoln Riley scapegoated him to save his ass.
Smart coaches do that.
Some smart coaching, huh?
Yeah, so Mount Union's 11-1 this year.
Okay. And how many national titles do they have in there? I think it's a lot.
It's a lot. But they scored 585 points this year and allowed 99.
It's not bad.
That's pretty good. Some are saying.
Old Mount Union. So Alex Grinch is still only 43 years old, so he's a young coach. Mm-hmm. And he's already been a defensive coordinator at Oklahoma, Ohio State, and USC. 3 of the biggest names that you'll see around. So he'll be back.
He's just going to have to go to the Nick Saban
There we
rehabilitation
go.
camp and
I was about to say that. Some Nick Saban Alabama rehab might
yeah,
be in his future.
go get everything right.
Um, yeah, great. So just talked about getting back to Wyoming and their 2 wins at the end of the season here, Brad. I noticed a pretty big change in the offense, and they kind of got back to what you saw in the Texas Tech game. They were very creative. They were basically running, I would say, kind of a triple option type of offense out of the shotgun with a lot of misdirection, and that really opened up the running game. It opened up the passing game. And so it was finally good to see some adjustments, and I think it's something that we can really build on heading into the future.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that I wasn't crazy and like noticing that like the offense of those last 2 games didn't look like what we've been used to, and I thought the passing game made significant improvements in those last 2 games. And I was thinking about it. I was like, well, maybe the offense changed a little bit, but also we're playing 2 shitty teams. Like maybe that's the problem, but it could be both. And so that's kind of where I landed with that whole conversation inside my own brain was, yeah, it's probably both.
Yeah. And to show what I've been talking about for a long time, and people, when I talk about the passing game and complain, people think some people, right? We mean Craig Bohl, because this is what he points out. He says, well, that means you got to throw the ball 50 times a game. No, you just have to be efficient. So look at this. I've actually haven't looked at these numbers before. Wyoming was 14 of 17 passing against Hawaii and 12 of 18 passing against Nevada.
And we went for like almost 200 in both of those games, right?
Over 300 against Hawaii and 165 against Nevada. So that just shows when you run the ball, when you're committed to the run like Wyoming is, and you run the ball as well as Wyoming, you don't have to throw the ball that much. You just have to be effective. And 82% pass completion and 66. You do that, you're going to win a lot of games.
And that Nevada game, I think they were just trying to shorten that game up as much as possible. I mean, that game was wrapped up in the first quarter.
Sure.
So
yeah, it was.
I think that was, we probably could have thrown for a lot more yards, but I think that was just let's get on the bus and get out of here game.
Yeah, but it is the passing efficiency. And I'm just seeing this now. Wyoming finished the season 60% completion percentage.
Never happened during Josh Allen's career here.
I don't think it did. Yeah, let's look really quick. That's got to be the highest under bowl ever, which is insane. Josh Allen, 55%.
Well, if you look at this,
56%,
taking care of the football too. I mean,
59%. Okay, but that might not have been the Josh Allen year. That was 2015, which was when Josh Allen got hurt.
Cam Kaufman, wasn't it?
So, I'll look at that really quickly.
But yeah, I mean,
passing 2015, that'd have been Cam Kaufman, correct?
Yeah.
So we'll look at those later, but so Wyoming hit the 60% mark, which I didn't even notice until now.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. So again, the passing game is something to monitor, and we'll see here going forward for Wyoming football. So wanted to hit on those 2 games since we haven't been on the air in a while. Just wanted to hit.
There was a Twitter announcement that got sent to me that Ayer Asante is coming back. So
what?
Yeah.
He's out of eligibility, isn't he?
Let me go look.
Okay. I mean, I saw him tweet earlier in the week that he said one more, and I took that as one more game. One more game.
Oh.
Yeah, he's out of eligibility.
He's not declaring for the draft or anything.
I think he was a grad transfer from Holy Cross.
Holy Cross.
And so he is out. But yes, a good portal pickup by Craig Bohl there.
A receiver that wanted to come here.
Yeah. And that's what you're going to have to do, right? Is find guys, probably FCS level wide receivers who have some speed, get them in here and let them eat, right? And the funny thing is Craig Bohl even admitted, I think it was after the CSU game, that well, we have this playmaker, but we don't get him the ball enough. Well, you think?
Yeah.
Right? And they finally started to do that. Let's look at his game log to see maybe if he had some more touches in his last couple of games. I do believe he did. They were giving him the ball too, like in short screens, handoffs, stuff like that. Asante only had 20 receptions on the year, which is really crazy. Let's look at his game log really quickly, and then we'll move on to some other. No, really, he had 4 catches against Hawaii and 2 against Nevada, and the 4 catches were the most he had in any game this season. So really underutilized. 20 catches, 346, and 6 touchdowns.
Whereas WyoNation had almost double the number of receptions.
Yeah, that's a problem. No offense to WyoNation, but
he's good too.
He's good, but he shouldn't be getting twice as number of receptions as Asante, right?
Yeah.
But we'll get to see Asante one more time. So I say, throwing the ball 15 times against Toledo.
Toledo, that's a good football team.
Yeah, so let's get into that. Of course, it was announced on Sunday that Wyoming accepted an invitation to the Arizona Bowl, the Barstool Arizona Bowl. And
there's some boomers big mad about that out there.
Yep, there is, and we'll get into that. But very, very interesting that Wyoming was selected to attend this game again after playing Ohio last year in the very same game. So you don't see teams going to the same bowl site twice in a year. I think it just came down to a numbers crunch. The Mountain West doesn't have the most desirable bowls, and guess what? The 3 teams picked ahead of Wyoming in the bowl pecking order all beat them. Boise, UNLV, and Air Force. That's the 3 biggest games. So you could say if Wyoming would have won one of those 3, you would not be in Tucson. I have no doubt. You'd probably be in Phoenix playing Kansas.
Tucson really likes having the Cowboys, though.
Yeah.
They like having the Cowboys in that bowl game, and I just read an article from the Tucson newspaper, and that was pretty much like the scenario that the bowl committee wanted was Toledo and Wyoming, and they said that Toledo has been trying to get into this bowl game since its inception. So for 7 years, Toledo's been trying to get in, and now that they're affiliated with the MAC, Toledo finally got their chance to get in since they lost the MAC championship on Saturday. So,
okay, yeah. So, Wyoming will be playing the Toledo Rockets. I do believe this will be the 3rd meeting between the schools. They split a home and home series that they played, I think, in like the mid to late 2000s. I want to say is when they played a series. I remember one of those games. I was actually in Baton Rouge, I think, for the road game. So I did not see that game because I did what Brad did this year. I was at Death Valley for a football game there. But I do remember listening to that game, I think, on the radio.
Yeah.
1-1. Toledo got to the MAC championship game. They're 11-2 on the season. Their only losses are
heading into that game too.
What?
They were ranked at 23 headed into that game.
Okay, I did not know they're ranked. Sure. So their only losses were in their season opener at Illinois, and then they lost the conference title game. So 11-2, meaning they won quite a few games in a row, right? They won 11 in a row in between those two. And they are well balanced. They're ranked in the top 30 in terms of scoring defense and scoring offense.
I did see their quarterback is out for the bowl game, though. Their starting quarterback.
Interesting. Did he get hurt?
I think their backup quarterback is also good. So
okay. Did he get hurt in the title game? Or was he out before then?
Oh, man, I don't remember.
All right, let's look that up. That is really good to know, right? And it may give Wyoming a great shot. But obviously, them being an 11-2 team, there's a good opportunity for Wyoming to.
Yeah, Toledo pasted Texas Southern. Holy smokes, 71.
Beat a good team. Let's
Texas
take a look
Southern
at their
not good.
passing game log here. Looks like they played 2 quarterbacks, both 13 games. So they have another quarterback named Tucker Gleason. Let's see here. Daquan Finn. Let's look at his game log. Did he play in the MAC title game?
Daquan Finn played in the MAC title game.
He did. That's their starter. Or it must be the other guy who maybe he's hurt. I don't know. We'll do some research. I haven't dug into them at all. They have another guy who played 13 games, but he only attempted 21 passes, and Tucker Gleason.
Yeah, Finn. Yeah, it looked like he had a pretty decent game. 273 passing and 45 rushing.
Yeah, but you're telling me he's hurt. Are you sure about this?
I don't know if he's hurt. I just thought he
Okay. I think you're making stuff up, which is okay.
That's fine.
So, yeah, Toledo, as I said, is a well-balanced team, so Wyoming will have their work cut out for them. But I wanted to get into, for you to defend this bowl, Brad. I will say that we went last year. I know a lot of people aren't happy with the title sponsor and all that comes with it, and the TV broadcast specifically. I guess the good news is, at least this year, that it's on actual TV and not online only. Right? I mean, people are bad-mouthing. It's on the CW, which people say is not a...
It's on both, though. You can stream and CW, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I would presumably.
Yeah.
Barstool, so they stream everything.
Exactly.
And so Finn is headed to the transfer portal.
Oh!
Yeah, so he pieced out.
Well, there we go. I have not seen that, but it's
on his Twitter.
It's easy to miss. Now, I do have like the, on Twitter, I do have the alerts for like the transfer portal rivals. And there's like 1,300 players have hit the portal.
It was over 1,000 yesterday, I think.
Yes, on Monday. Yeah. So, okay. Well, he hit the portal, so that helps Wyoming quite a bit, I would say.
Yeah.
Interesting. I did not see that, but it's hard to catch all these, right? And we'll get into the portal here later, so very interesting. So, hey, that makes Wyoming a strong favorite in this game, I would say.
Yep.
Very interesting.
Actually, no. Didn't you post the line yesterday and we were like 2.5-point underdogs?
1.5 is what Vegas had it, but that's probably before this guy. Did he enter the portal today or yesterday?
Yesterday.
Okay. So who knows if that's been taken into consideration. I'd imagine if your starter hits the portal, I'd imagine Wyoming would swing to at least a like 2.5-point favorite.
I would think so.
Yeah. So we'll check Vegas and OddsShark here while we're on the air. But I wanted you to defend, if you wanted to, at the Barstool Sports Arizona Bowl. And I will just lead off with this, right? People take this very serious, but let's also remember that bowl games are what, Brad? Technically.
What do you mean?
What are bowl games?
They are chances for ESPN to stuff programming into our faces for 2 weeks.
Correct. But they're technically exhibition games.
Oh, I like
that
better.
Right? They're exhibition games. They're there for people to have fun, to go to nice warm places in the winter.
Unless you go to Boise.
Exactly. And of course, right?
Or
that's
Detroit.
Not fun. But we're going to Tucson. And we'll say that Brad and I, we attended this game last year. We had a great time. So I said this on Twitter. If you did not go to the bowl game last year and you're thinking about going this year, you should 100% go. Tucson is a great town.
Fun.
Super very fun. Lots of different things to do. The food there, ridiculous in terms of the tacos, the burritos. I can't even tell you how well we ate while we were there.
A lot. That was the big part, is a lot.
Yeah, we ate a lot, yeah. Some nice breweries there. The people are all very friendly. They saw us wearing Wyoming stuff. They'd strike up conversations with us, wish us good luck. I remember talking to some locals. They were Raider fans.
Ooh.
And they were nice. You were there with me, I think, but I was talking to them mainly. But even the Raider fans in Tucson are nice people.
I just remember I ran into that couple at that smaller brewery we went to, and the guy like lived in tent sleep half the year or something like that.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then we ran into a guy on the Metro bus who was from like Sheridan, right? Because he saw your hat. You were wearing a Keen Ropes hat.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh yeah, I used to live in Sheridan."
Just very
So
random.
it was just wild. Yeah, we saw people who used to live in Wyoming who are now wintering in Arizona. So yeah, Tucson, great time. Just get over the barstool thing. It's okay. Bowl games are there for these kids to have fun, for people to have fun. This is supposed to be fun. Don't take it too serious. It's in the end, it's meaningless, right? That's what I'm saying. It's an exhibition game. It's meaningless. Go there, have fun, enjoy.
The tailgate was pretty ridiculous too, actually. Like, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, they have a great tailgate, and apparently they're even. It sounds like the plans this year are making it even better. They have a lot more to do.
Wow.
I was reading about it. Yeah, it looks really great. So, and they're going to do some kind of like pregame show there with all the personalities. So they're going to have a pregame show with all the dudes from the shows that Brad listens to. I don't listen to them because that's not my cup of tea, but I'm not going to complain about it. If you enjoy it, you enjoy it. If you don't, you don't. So
it is what it is.
It is what it is. But yeah, we could highly recommend going down to Tucson. Get yourself some warm weather and get you some good Mexican food.
That was a nice little 3-day reprieve last year to go hit the sun for a few days after being buried in negative 45 temperature in Montana and Wyoming. So,
yes. We both returned back to snow after our excursion into the desert.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, any other things you would like to add about the upcoming bowl game, Tucson, anything like that?
No, I don't know. Like, people complain about it and whatever, but Tucson's not a bad place to go. I mean, the Cowboys have done the Albuquerque thing, quite a few times. The Hawaii Bowl, yeah, sure, it's nice, but how many people are going to go to Hawaii for the bowl game? Probably like 5. And then you're not even playing in a real football stadium. You're playing in like a soccer field with bleachers on it.
True.
Or, yeah, I mean, best case scenario, you go play in LA, but you got to win your conference to play in LA. So
maybe someday.
Yeah, maybe someday. So I don't know. This feels like a pretty good spot.
It is, yeah, and the stadium is great too. Yep. We didn't even talk about it. I think the University of Arizona Stadium is very nice. It's very modern, easy to get in and out of, and it's really nice. A nice, comfortable stadium, plenty of room.
Yeah, and I don't know. It was fun. So and having a matchup like Toledo. I mean, yeah, sure, they're a MAC team, whatever. Who cares? But they're a pretty good MAC team, and there's probably an outside chance that they could have made the Group of 5 spot in the New Year's 6 Bowl if they'd beat Miami. Like that was 100% on the table.
It's possible because, yeah, I didn't know this. I thought people were joking.
I thought they were ranked ahead of Liberty at the time, but I don't know.
Probably. They probably would have gotten it. Yeah, I thought people were joking when I saw the bowl projections with Liberty in the New Year's 6, and I was like, what?
How?
Yeah, so I guess, I don't know. Did Tulane lose their title game?
Yep.
Oh, boy. So, yeah, let's talk about this. It makes me mad. The Mountain West needs to take advantage of these situations. When there's no clear-cut team, we should be in the mix, but we were nowhere near it.
It started off with, Air Force was sitting at the top of the conference. They got into the top 25.
Yeah.
They hit a brick in the wall, and they lost, 3 or 4 to close the season, something like that.
Sure.
Yeah. Then, Fresno State, they were kind of hovering around the top 25, and, they hit Wyoming, and that was that. Wyoming kind of flirted with the top 25. They hit Boise State. That was that. So, there was a lot of cannibalization at the top of the conference, which happens in the Mountain West pretty frequently.
Sure.
I don't know if that's a parity thing or just, I don't know. So there's just no real dominant team in the Mountain West like other conferences experience. Tulane's been on top of the AAC.
Well, I mean, Boise's pretty dominant.
Yeah. And,
I would say.
I was going back through today and looking at the preseason projections, and Boise was projected to win the conference, back in July. And then you look how Boise started their season. It's like, these guys are a train wreck. But I think it was that, Wyoming game, or maybe even the week before that put Boise on the straight and narrow. And I think they went undefeated down the stretch, didn't they? And
yeah,
so
they did. So one of the worst Boise teams in years. They finished the season just 7-5, but still win the conference. So you really got to kick yourself, right? To where Boise can have like the worst year for them possible and still win the league after they fired their coach.
And they lost to the Sheep.
Yeah, they lost to CSU. They fire their coach. It's crazy. I'm just floored that they were able to go back. But much like everybody else, their quarterback, who won them the conference title, has hit the portal as well. So it's portal season. And even Boise is not exempt from the dreaded portal.
Boy, they were. I'm looking at their schedule now. Boy, they were in tough shape. They were 4-4, or 2-2 to start the season.
Yeah,
4-4 at the Wyoming game. So there was no reason they should have won that.
Yeah. So you really have to kick yourself, right? And Wyoming had an opportunity last year. Now, let's not people forget this. Now, granted, we were down to our third string quarterback, but we were in a position last season. If we would have beaten Boise at home, we would have had a legitimate shot at going to the conference title game. Now, of course, we lost that game. It came down to the very end, right? Even with our third string quarterback. But the bottom line is you don't get a pick when you have these opportunities, and you have to take advantage of them. Wyoming's dropped the ball 2 years in a row, as far as I'm concerned. They did it last year, and this year people were talking about Wyoming. Do you remember when Wyoming was projected to be in the NY6? It was like a good 2 weeks where people were like, oh, Wyoming is. So
that was wild.
That is wild. And they read their own press clippings. Bull even said it. Yep, we got too high on ourselves, and they crashed down to earth. But you have to take advantage of these opportunities. And Wyoming historically hasn't done that under Bull. I'll have to go back to the history, but it hasn't happened much. And that's why when you have these opportunities, you have to take advantage of them because you don't know when you're going to be in the mix again.
Yeah. Yeah, and hilariously, to start the season, they had – so this is funny. The media – the preseason poll had UNLV finishing 9th in the poll.
Yeah.
One guy voted them to be first place in the Mountain West.
I remember that. Yeah. And people were like mocking this person.
Yeah.
What did he know?
What did he know?
He was a big believer in what's the guy? Barry Odom, right?
Yeah, that's wild. San Diego State projected 4th, and they finished near the bottom.
Yeah.
Or no, they finished at the bottom, actually.
Terrible season. Yep.
Yeah, horrible season.
And Brady Hoke
Rocky Long
retired.
Brady
Hoke got retired.
Yeah, he got retired. I think they made a pretty good hire with their new coach, though.
Yes. They brought in the former Kent State head coach, who Wyoming faced a couple years ago in the Potato Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Kent State.
The guy that Deion Sanders scapegoated for his problems.
Correct. Yeah. He's a good coach.
Yep.
And he'll bring something it's going to be a little more high-powered than your San Diego State that you've seen with, right, Hoke and Long. It's going to be more back to your, it's going to be back to your, 90s San Diego State where they're just throwing the ball around the yard.
Yeah, this will shock the San Diego State fan base to see what's coming their direction. If they even have fans, I don't know if they do, but
yeah, that's a good question. Do they even have fans? Yeah, I guess while we're talking about new coaches, there's a lot of stuff. Now, I didn't even know that Nevada fired their coach until I heard they hired a coach.
Yeah,
did you know that he got fired?
Yep.
So I think he was a former assistant at Oklahoma who got fired. I forget his name. It doesn't matter. But they hired a guy that you may know a little about, a former Montana State head coach, and Jeff Choate? Jeff Choate?
Yeah, Choate. Yeah. Choate's going to bring back they'll be a much tougher football team, I think, just from an attitude perspective. Choate ran a pretty tight defense at Montana State, and he had a great defense he was a co-defensive coordinator at Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that Choate was going to be at Boise State, because when he got hired on at Texas, he left Montana State and was supposed to be hired at Boise State, and then Texas came in with a bigger offer to be their defensive coordinator. So Choate gave up the Boise job and went to Texas, and Boise, went with Andy Avalos, who they fired halfway through this season. So didn't work out for them.
Correct. In other moves, I guess Boise made it official and hired the interim guy.
Yep.
And I don't know his name, but the guy,
he's a young guy. He's like, geez, I thought I read he's like 35 years old or something like that.
Yeah, I think he's in his 30s for sure.
Yeah, young guy.
You can look that up while we're talking about it here. But so Boise went with the interim guy who won a conference title. And that's right. The guy's coached for 3 games, and he's got more conference titles than Craig Bowl.
To be fair.
And then I don't think that's. Oh, no, hold on. That's all the changes I think right now.
Well, New Mexico is
except for New Mexico, yeah. And so the word came out, and I sent this to you, is that old nemesis Bronco Mendenhall is reportedly close to being hired at New Mexico, which is very interesting. And you have to remember that Mendenhall is from that Rocky Long tree, and he was at New Mexico in that era before he went to BYU. And so Rocky Long's disciple, Bronco Mendenhall, could be the new head coach at New Mexico.
And he has been unemployed for 2 years.
Yeah, he flamed out. Virginia and he retired at Virginia because he said he was just burnt out.
Yeah, and he's been off for 2 years.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see how that works. I'm just look this up really quick. NCAA
this is a second
football.
This is
coaching
his second stint at New Mexico too. If he
I told you that. Yeah, he was was an assistant under Rocky Long, I'm pretty sure. And so that's the tree he comes from.
Yeah, 4 years there.
Yeah. So he's got a tie there. Let's see here. So I want to make sure we don't hit any of these or miss any of these. We have Boise State hired. The guy's name is Spencer Danielson.
Yep.
Now you'll see that Jeff Tefford is stepping away from Fresno for the bowl game, just the bowl game supposedly, due to health issues. So again, we'll see what happens there long term. Nevada fired Kent Wilson. Yep, and hired Choate today.
Yep.
I'm looking at San Diego State hired Sean Lewis, and we talked about that. And that's pretty much it for the coaching searches. We're just waiting for New Mexico to maybe make Bronco Mendenhall official here the next day or two. And the Mountain West will be whole.
Yeah, there's a lot of changes, a lot of coaching changes here coming up.
Let's do one more thing outside of, I guess, bigger picture Mountain West before we finish up with some Wyoming talk. Sure. And that would be the news, Brad, and I think it was last week that the Pac-2 made the announcement that they have a alliance with the Mountain West. Mm-hmm. So that means that Oregon State and Washington State will be playing, I think, 6 games apiece against
7.
Or is it 7? Oh, I think you're right.
7 plus 1.
7 plus 1? Okay, whatever.
Well, so for the Mountain West teams, it'll be 7 plus 1. So 7 conference games plus one game against either Washington State or Oregon State.
Okay, gotcha. So, yeah. So the Mountain West announced that deal, which was rumored for a while. Mm-hmm. And it's the only thing that makes sense. And it's also rumored that this is just buying time for them to come to a longer-term agreement. And so I guess Oregon State and Wazoo are going to play as independents next season, basically playing a Mountain West schedule. And they're going to work long term on figuring out how to integrate the two leagues. Now, I am of the opinion that for money reasons, that the Mountain West and the Pac-2 may merge under a Pac whatever name to keep basketball points and TV contracts like that rolling. So that is, I think, is what the holdup is. I don't think that they're going to join the Mountain West. I think the Mountain West is going to join the Pac-2.
Well, they're tied up in a lot of litigation with how to split the money from this season, since the other schools said that they're out.
Correct.
And I think there's some sort of weird bylaws within the Pac-12 that are like, if you say you're out, then you don't get a decision anymore. So I think that's tied up in court.
It is, and that's what. So to catch people up is basically what the teams who leaving the Pac-12 wanted to do was to use the Pac-12 coffers to pay their exit fees. So Wazoo and Oregon State said, hell no, you can't do that. They took them to court, and so far they won, I think, both decisions in court. I think it's being appealed one last time, perhaps.
Yeah, there was something.
And we'll see
I didn't
what
read
happens
it, but
there.
I saw something last week that there was some ruling in Seattle, some federal court in Seattle, but
correct.
This will get appealed for who knows how long, but
yeah.
But even Oregon State, they're looking like they might be a shell of themselves, even headed to their bowl game, much less next year.
Correct. And of course,
they
those
were
teams
top 15 at one point.
Yeah, both teams are hemorrhaging players in the portal because they're no longer in a Power 5 conference.
Oregon State hemorrhaged their head coach too. So
yes, and he left right because he saw the writing on the wall, and so yes, Jonathan Smith took the job at Michigan State. And Oregon State stayed in-house and hired a guy named Trent Bray, who is like Alex Grinch we were talking about. This guy is a young and upcoming coach.
Yep.
And I think that's a really good hire by them. And I think long-term, Oregon State and Washington State are great fits for whatever this conference ends up being called. Mm-hmm. They fit right in. They're Western-based teams. They're in smaller TV markets. And let's not kid anything. I had some people on Twitter saying, well, why would we want them? They didn't get brought up to the big leagues because they suck. And I go, no, they're just as good as any of those Pac-12 teams. They're just in the two smallest markets in the Pac-12. And that's the only reason they didn't end up anywhere else, is because Corvallis and Pullman are like villages compared.
Pullman's basically a suburb of Moscow, Idaho. So
yeah. And Corvallis is in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason. It's TV ratings. So I think this is a big get for the Mountain West to get this alliance.
I don't think you can even fly to like Moscow or Pullman. I think you have to fly to Spokane and drive.
Yeah, which you've done a few times.
I have.
Yes.
I have a lot.
Yeah. So I think that is a great move. I think they're going to fit in with the culture. They're smaller Western college towns. And we have a history. We played Washington State a few times. I remember when I first moved to Wyoming in the early 90s, we hosted Oregon State in like 1992 or something crazy. So I think it's great for the Beavers and the Cougars to join the family, and we'll see how long it takes for this all to become official and what this conference is going to be called and how it's going to be set up. But really, they have no choice. The Mountain West is the best they can do at this point in time.
Well, it's the only Western-based conference besides the Big Sky, and I don't think the Big Sky is going to be an option for them.
Sure.
But one thought I had rolling around in my head, is say the Mountain West and the Pac-2 merge, under the Pac-12 umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
I guess two thoughts on that is: does Hawaii get an invite? Or could Hawaii survive as an independent playing 12 home games or 11 home games? And two, I think the Mountain West would still exist as a conference and just have no teams. And I wonder if at that point, the Big Sky and the Missouri Valley pool their best teams together and move up as a single conference under the Mountain West umbrella.
It's possible, sure.
Things I've had rolling around my head.
Sure. And then the Hawaii thing's interesting. So now a lot of people have been digging into this. I think if the leagues were to merge or whatever, to get kicked out of the league, I think you'd have to have like it's a high number of other teams that have to vote to remove you. So unless Hawaii left on their own,
Hawaii's not a full member though. Remember, they're only a football affiliate. They're not a full member of the Mountain West.
Oh, true. Good point. I don't know what the bylaws are.
Their basketball plays on the West Coast.
Yeah, I see what you're saying now.
Whatever conference like Pacific is in, whatever that is.
I think you'd want to keep them just to have an even number of teams. Because we're adding 2, and if you got rid of them, then you'd have an odd number, which means that somebody would have to either be on a bye or on a non-conference game every week, which might be doable. But no, you make a good point. They're not a full member, and I haven't heard anything about that. I would keep Hawaii, personally.
What's that conference? The Big West? Is that what their basketball's in? Or like their Olympic sports, I guess?
Yeah, there's the Big West, and then the West Coast Conference. I don't know which one they're in. Those are the two other minor leagues on the West Coast.
Because West Coast Conference is all the religious schools like Gonzaga and St. Mary's.
St. Mary's, yeah.
Pepperdine.
Correct.
Yeah. I don't know.
No, that's a good question. We'll have to ask some people about like if Hawaii could be booted, but I don't see any benefit in booting them.
Well, I mean, from a football perspective, like Hawaii is an independent. They could go out and just schedule
they could
11 non-conference games and just play everybody at home.
They could because people would do it.
Other schools would get a 12th game if they wanted.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, they could do that, I suppose. They might find that more beneficial to them if they didn't have to travel as much. Because you're right. They probably could get 10 teams to travel to them, at least.
Yeah, and I think their new stadium's supposed to be ready in 25, 26, something like that.
I don't know. Yeah, it's an interesting question. Maybe we'll poke around to see what happens. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. Who knows how long this will take? I think it's going to take a while, right? Because obviously Oregon State and Washington State are going to be outspent in terms of lawyers and crap through all this. But what the other schools are doing is just wrong, right? I mean, it's wrong. They're just trying to take advantage of the situation and saying, well, we'll just take the money. Well, no, you're leaving. You don't have the say in how the money's spent. And so far, the courts have agreed with Washington State and Oregon State. But that doesn't mean it will end that way because who knows? But
the other thing I think about, too, is if they do merge under the Pac-12, 10, whatever umbrella they decide to call it, do they just fire the current commissioner because he sucks and let all these teams go and bring in Gloria Nevarez to run the conference?
Yeah, I don't know. Good question.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because that guy can't be around anymore. He has to go. He can't be a commissioner anymore.
Yeah.
You can't keep him.
It was odd that he was at the title game on Friday night, I thought.
Yeah.
It's like you've overseen this mess. Good job, buddy.
Read the room, man. Nobody wants you here.
Yeah. So I had that actually. I didn't have that on my list, but I remembered that. And it's a big thing. Obviously, it's big news. And we'll see what happens long term. And we'll have plenty of time to talk about it. I'm sure maybe in the off season we'll hear some more rumors on what the long-term future of the league is with these two schools. I know the agreement they've reached so far is just for football, but the rumors are already coming out that they're working on other sports too. So that just shows you that it's just a matter of time until they figure out how this is all going to work. But
yeah,
Wyoming will be in a conference as a full member with these two other schools at some point under some banner.
Made it to the Pac-12 before BYU did.
That's right. And Colorado. Oh, actually, Colorado left. Sorry. No, I mean CSU. CSU's finally going to be a Pac-12 school, maybe. That's what they've been clamoring for forever. So
I thought it was Big 12, Big 10, or Big 12. I don't know.
No, they don't care. They just want to be Power 5.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. So, switching gears a little bit,
Sure.
looking at the bowl lineup for the Mountain West.
Yeah, we could talk about that. That's not bad.
I don't think it's pretty.
What do we have? Yeah.
So we kick it off on December 16th with New Mexico State and Fresno State.
Okay.
I don't see a scenario where Fresno State wins that game. New Mexico State's pretty good.
And I think Fresno State's quarterback is at the portal as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
basically, every team's quarterback has hit the portal except for Wyoming's because he's graduating. So
exactly. So they got New Mexico State as a 3-point favorite in that game.
Okay.
Then we go to UCLA and Boise State. I don't know, man. That game's honestly a toss-up.
Well, UCLA is pretty bad.
They faded down the stretch big time.
I think Boise's in pretty good shape with the new coach, but they lost the quarterback. He's in the portal.
UCLA favored in that one, so
who knows, right? Portal again, another bowl game with the starting quarterbacks in the portal. Okay.
Now the game that I think is really going to be a bloodbath on December 23rd is James Madison and Air Force.
Yes, very interesting. So I was not following this at all. How did James Madison get into a bowl game? Because all I heard was they were denied, and then all of a sudden
eligible teams.
Oh, there weren't enough.
Yeah, so they couldn't fill all 80 some spots.
Oh.
So that was the only way James Madison could get into a bowl, which there must have only been one spot open because Jacksonville State also had a lot of wins, like 9 wins maybe, and they did not qualify for a bowl, I don't think. I don't think they did. Yeah. So, yeah, you got 11-1 James Madison against Air Force, JMU 3-point favorite. Then later that day,
Air Force could do okay.
The thing with Air Force, though, is they tend to surprise people that don't play them. Like, unless you've played against the triple option before, a lot of teams get really surprised by it. And that's usually how Air Force keeps those games close, is they just don't know how to prepare for it. Defenses don't know what to do.
Sure.
Whereas, yeah, so I don't know.
That'll be an interesting game. So it's great. I'm glad they got in.
Actually, maybe not, because James Madison lost their coach too.
Yes, James Madison's coach went to Indiana, which is crazy that he would spend all this time building that program up and take a job at Indiana.
Yeah. And he was talking some mad shit this week already about how
really what?
How Indiana's gonna, beat the next whatever, Michigan or whatever, and beat Ohio State. It's like, buddy, when's the last time Indiana won like 9 games? I think they had a really good season like 2 or 3 years ago, but
yeah,
holy cow,
before that they were kind of good. Was it like in the 90s? They were like, I don't know. Oh, I remember them being like kind of good under some coach. I don't remember his name.
Yeah. Let's see, Georgia State and Utah State. That game's going to be a snoozer, I think.
Yeah.
Georgia State up with 2-point favorite. Coastal Carolina and San Jose State in the Hawaii Bowl.
Oh, okay.
That would have San Jose State favored by a bit.
Coastal Carolina's quarterback has hit the portal.
Did he?
Yeah.
He was like, oh yeah, that's right. And he's like the 3-time like Sun Belt Player of the Year or something like that.
Awesome quarterback.
Yeah,
he entered the portal last year and then came back to Coastal.
Yeah, Grayson McCall, he's really good.
Yeah, so he's not gonna. So there we go. So San Jose State's got a chance. Basically, every game that has a quarterback that's any good, they've hit the portal.
Even Chevin Cordero had a pretty good season for San Jose State.
Yeah,
he was picked to be the Mountain West Player of the Year in the preseason. Let's see, UNLV in Kansas.
Yeah, that's
a guaranteed rate. Oh, it's the game in Phoenix.
Yeah,
at the baseball stadium.
And guess what? UNLV's quarterback has hit the portal.
Freshman of the year.
Freshman of the year in the Mountain West, gone.
I bet that guy got a bag. I bet he got a bag to go somewhere else.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And so they've got KU favored in that one.
These bowl games are ridiculous with the portal.
Yeah. The Wyoming-Toledo game is down to a 1 point. Toledo.
Okay. Well, I don't see how Toledo could be favored if their quarterback's in the portal. So.
Well, yeah, and I don't know how often ESPN is updating this because they still have the UNLV quarterback as the leading passer in that matchup. Which
okay, well, he is technically.
Technically he is.
Let me go to OddsShark
also not playing
and see what the models have and what Vegas has updated some of these odds.
Yeah, I looked at OddsShark earlier. They had the opening line at 3. Now they have it at even.
Okay. Well, I think there's probably a lag. I should probably bet on Wyoming now.
Just smash
take Wyoming and take Wyoming 0.
Yeah, I found out while I was back in Wyoming for Thanksgiving that having unfettered access to FanDuel was probably not the best thing. Because I can just sit on my ass and watch football and just put on live bets where I can't do that in Montana. So
let's go matchups and scores.
Exhilarating, but probably not what I should be doing.
Yeah, let's take a look at these. OddsShark just redid their site again. So, hold on. Okay, we still have Army Navy this weekend, so that's what they got. So let me go to bowls here. They got Army Navy there. Let's see here. Let's see if they have an updated OddsShark.
Oof. They've got the Alabama-Michigan spread currently at 1.5. Michigan.
Interesting.
I kind of think Alabama wins it.
You can't really count against them in the playoff, right? Let's see here. I'm trying to find Wyoming.
If Alabama wins it, I think if they beat Michigan, they're winning it all. There's no way.
Yeah. So it looks like you're right. OddsShark has the game as a pick'em. So yeah, I think you might want to hit Wyoming on this. Why they're still 0? Because I got to imagine it will go out. Hey, we got Raider Davis in the house with a chat.
Oh.
Yeah, let's see. Let's get a chat up here. And we talked about this, but we're happy to talk about it again. Hold on here. Where's my damn mouse?
He makes a great point.
Raider Dave says, seeing a lot of chat on the 7-20 in Pokes Nation about being upset at Arizona again. Personally, I love this more than Idaho and the cold and the blue turf or New Mexico. Yes.
Yep.
We said that not in those words exactly, but pretty darn close.
Getting sent to Boise feels like punishment.
And then he also says, and the Barstool podcast, I love it. It's something different. One game a year, embrace it. Exactly. That's what I said. I go, bowl games are an exhibition. They're there for you to have fun. And people are whining and crying. Embrace it, have fun, enjoy it. Go to the game, have a great time. Good to see you again, Raider Dave. Yeah. So if you're inclined to bet the Cowboys, I mean, if Toledo's quarterback is in the portal, Wyoming's got an excellent chance in this game with the way we've been playing.
Yep.
Speaking of that, let's talk about our own portal situation. And right now it's been really quiet. Wyoming's only had 2 players hit the portal.
Don't say that too loud, though.
Why?
Because you might jinx it.
I don't know. I think we'd hear by now. But of course, the 2 are no surprise. One is Colby Taylor, who was kind of in the doghouse all year and was unhappy in his situation. I think a very talented player. But for whatever reason, it didn't work out. And also DQ James, who was effectively kicked off the team. He announced he's in the portal. Well, duh. And so those are the only 2 people Wyoming have lost. So we'll see. I'd imagine if we're going to see more movement, you would hear it sometime this week.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, remember last year we lost quite a few guys to the portal, like starting players. And so and I think it's been quiet so far, which is a good sign. And so we'll see what happens. But so far, Wyoming only has 2 players in the portal, and neither of them are a surprise.
No.
And neither of them will be missed by Craig Bowl. That's for sure.
No.
So take that for what it's worth. So in terms of targets in the portal, covering Wyoming recruiting is so hard is because they're so quiet. Mm-hmm. Unless the player's talking, you don't hear anything. The only thing I found this week is Wyoming has offered a wide receiver who was at Arkansas Pine Bluffs.
Okay.
And again, I think they're like FCS, aren't they, or no?
They're FCS SWAC school.
Okay. So that guy has been offered. That's the only thing I could find online of Wyoming making an offer in the portal. No, we did have this question, and maybe we'll get to some questions here to wrap up the show. We had a couple. What positions Wyoming might target in the portal this year? And I have 3.
Okay.
Now, just based off current situation. So the first is wide receiver, right? Because we lost a seer. And obviously they're after some because they've made this. The only known offer we know is from this guy from Arkansas Pine Bluff. Another position I would say is tight end because we're losing Welch. Now, granted, Gillenborg is pretty good. Had some nice games at the end, but I think another tight end would be huge because we use 3-4 tight ends at times. So I think another experienced tight end would be good. And then cornerback is the other one because we are losing Ja'Cory Hawkins, who was a transfer, and I think the other guy who transferred in as well. So we need some experienced cornerbacks. So I think those are the 3 positions I would target if I was Craig Bull.
Yep.
Do you have any other thoughts?
I don't know. Like, I would think that any and all offensive and defensive linemen are probably on the table. Just it's good to have a lot of those guys around. So, if I don't know what our underclassmen look like if we're pretty set there, but
I think we are. Yeah. I think we're looking pretty good on both lines. Unless we have people who bail, which is possible. That's if people leaving, I could maybe see some of our defensive linemen getting poached by some Power 5 schools.
Yeah.
Which has been, the past 2 seasons they've been poached. So it wouldn't surprise me if some of our starting defensive linemen got poached. And then we'd have to go back into the portal to maybe replace them. But we'll deal with that problem later when we have to.
Future us problem. We were chatting about that at the tailgate on Saturday afternoon. That I guess somebody at North Dakota State mentioned that there's 6 players on that North Dakota State team that have 6-figure NIL offers to go elsewhere. And then we started kicking around like, all right, how many Big Sky players would probably get like a 6-figure NIL deal to go somewhere? And Montana State lost a offensive lineman that was like first team all Big Sky.
Mm-hmm.
And like the quarterback from Idaho, Giovanni McCoy, like he is super good. He's a very fast runner. He's a good passer. Got in Idaho to a lot of places that haven't been in a long time. If you translate that to like the Cowboys, like, I don't know the details of like what the 1YO NIL collective is doing. Like, if they're raising a lot of money or
they're so new.
Yeah, they're very new. So I don't know if they have, enough resources to hand a bag to some of these guys, like these impact players or not. But I wonder, you just wonder like how many Wyoming players would like see a 6-figure mark like that to go elsewhere. Would like a Harrison Whaley type person see a bag like that, or maybe even like I don't know. That's the one off the top of my head, I guess. Or maybe Gillenborg.
Sure.
But, how many Wyoming players would fit that kind of profile of like, we could really use you. Come play for us.
Yeah, no, I think there's a fair amount of them. So we'll see. It wouldn't surprise me, especially on defense, if we had some guys poached. Since I did ask for questions on Twitter, we did have a guy named Erock D came in, and he's got 2 comments. So I'll just read them to you here and get your comments. He says, I think a lot of people can agree that this was the year to compete in the Mountain West Championship game. We have the talent, and we lost some games we should have won. However, 8 wins is still a good season, and if the Pokes win the Arizona Bowl, it will be the best record since 96. Or I guess the most wins since 96, probably, right? And then he also says, and I don't know if this is true, and it may be, and I think it is, I'll have to look at the numbers, but Coach Bowl has an opportunity to go above 500 with a win at the Arizona Bowl. Out of all the coaches Wyoming has had in its 112-year history, only 8 others have been able to do this, the most recent being Coach Dimble, who, by the way, was fired at UTEP.
Shout out to our one of our favorite audience members, Dive Bar Dimble out there too.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that would warrant some research for sure. But I don't think Dave Christensen was above 500. Joe Glenn wasn't.
No.
Boy, we might be going back a ways. I don't even know if Joe Tiller was above 500. Was he?
He was.
Was he?
In the end.
Oh. I don't know. That would be interesting. I'm sure that information is very easy to find if we just went looking for it.
It is. Yeah. So, but I just wanted to read that because we asked for it. So thank you, Eric, EROC_D on Twitter for your comments. And then the last thing, I guess we'll wrap up here is, and we haven't talked about this much, but is recruiting. Wyoming has quietly put together a nice little class here, Brad.
Oh, yeah?
Have 18 commitments right now as of December 5th.
Oh.
So almost a full class here. I don't know how many they're going to take in.
Yeah.
Again, we try to do the recruiting thing, but it's just so hard because nobody talks.
Well, we had a mole, but now we don't have a mole anymore. So
don't say anything. Might out the guy. The one guy who fed us information a long time ago, by the way.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, it's really hard to get it. And recruiting information is just so all over the map now. Like, with Twitter being what it is, it's like there are people it's a fire hose of information. You don't really know until, and now there's 2 signing days. There used to be just one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, it's impossible to follow. I mean, we were one of the first Wyoming websites to actually put together like a recruiting tracker and track it. And Go Wyogo, they have their sources for doing it over Rivals and whatever, but now there's so many damn recruiting websites.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't keep up with it. So it was a pain. It was awesome, when we knew things, but we don't know shit anymore.
Yeah. So, and Wyoming has made a lot of movement in the month of November, securing 8 recruits.
Wow.
So far, 8 commitments. So we'll just run through a few of these in order that they committed, recent to further in the past. We got a defensive tackle from Texas named Nathan Murphy, 6'4", 270. A guy named Tyrese Boss, a defensive back from Chino Hills, California, 6 foot 170. And then we'll be interested if anybody from Wyoming out there has seen this kid play. We have a commitment from a Sheridan, Wyoming defensive end by the name of Alex Haswell.
Oh.
Glenwood Springs, Colorado, a defensive back named Joaquin Sandoval. A wide receiver from Arden Hills, Minnesota, Tyler Nystrom. A defensive tackle from Temple, Texas, Garrett Combs. A linebacker from Kansas City, Missouri, Elton Murgis. A defensive back from Franklin, Texas, Devin Hidrago. A offensive lineman from West Des Moines, Iowa, Braylon Jenkins. And then, but I should note that this Hidrago is a 3-star recruit. We also have a 3-star wide receiver from Chicago named Chris Durr Jr.
Oh.
So, yeah, some interesting people. But the problem I see is 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 from Texas, which historically has not worked out well for us.
Nope. And I've wondered about that. That strategy just hasn't worked great.
But they have hit
talent there, but man.
Yeah. But they have hit an old recruiting ground that's done really well and I think works well for Wyoming in Minnesota. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4. Is there 5? 4 players from Minnesota, which I think is a place we should recruit.
Yep.
Because these guys are used to the cold. The cold doesn't bother them. And what Wyoming great came from Minnesota?
Oh boy. Well, we had a lineman from Minnesota. His name was it Adam Goldberg?
Oh yeah, he was
Wasn't he from Minnesota?
maybe no. It was the guy who was in the NFL too from Eden Prairie. Was that Goldberg? Was he from Eden Prairie, which is just outside of Minneapolis?
Yeah.
You might be right. I think Goldberg is right.
I was gonna say, who are you thinking of?
I am thinking of one of the greatest wide receivers to play college football, and that is one Marcus Harris
Oh, all right.
was from Minnesota.
Yeah, and Adam Goldberg is also from Minnesota.
Okay, so he's the one. Yep, from Eden Prairie.
In Adina.
Adina. Okay. Well, we had a guy from Eden Prairie too for a while. An offensive lineman. I forget his name. He was good.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I don't remember. I know who you're talking about. I just can't think of the name.
Yeah, I can't think of his name either. But yeah, so good to see. I think that upper Midwest is a great fit, obviously, because they're not afraid of the cold.
Yeah, I think that upper Midwest, Minnesota, Wisconsin, UP, Michigan. I think those would be solid places to recruit. Illinois, I think we've had pretty good luck in Illinois.
Yeah,
too.
Illinois too. Mm-hmm.
And you said that we got that receiver from Chicago. I wonder if our old friend Ryan Yarborough had anything to do with that. I think he's still based in Chicago. So
I doubt it. I don't know where this. Let's take a look at this guy's offers, and then we'll wrap up for the night because we're an hour 10. But it's been a good conversation. Chris Dirk Jr., 3-star wide receiver, 5'11", 148. So that's probably why he's a little under recruited. He's a tiny little guy.
Oh, 5'11", 148?
Yeah.
Wow. Holy
Yeah.
smokes.
Let's see. He has offers from.
Must be fast.
He's got a lot of offers. Hold on here. Okay, never mind. Louisville, Eastern Michigan, and Army are the only Division I schools who have New Mexico State who have offered him.
I wonder what Army's going to do with him.
Yeah, I don't know.
Actually, I think Army's retooled their offense a little bit to incorporate a little bit more passing. So
they have, yeah, for sure.
Maybe he'll fit that kind of jet sweep.
Yeah, and you can watch that this weekend in the Army-Navy game on Saturday, the only game in town.
Yep. Heisman Trophy right after.
Yeah, so I think that'll kind of do it. We talked about a lot of things. We haven't been on for a while, so we did okay. We kept things fairly positive. There'll be plenty of time to talk about, the typical off-season things we talk about. We'll see what happens. Transfer portal, coaching staff changes, all that. We'll have plenty of time to talk about.
One of the things that we came in on Twitter earlier was ranking the QBs of the Craig Bowl era. That's what we're going to have to put some thought into. There's been
We'll do that in the off season, probably after the bowl game. That's like an off season,
pretty good off season activity for sure.
Yes, yeah. So we think I saw that. I don't know if I have his name handy here quickly.
Wyoming resident on Twitter.
That's it, Wyoming resident. So thank you for that recommendation. We will certainly do that.
Have to research that one.
We will do that at some point in time. We'll actually have all the numbers. I'll send them to you.
Actually, it'd be ranking the quarterbacks of the Craig Bowl era might be kind of a depressing exercise. Ranking the running backs of the Craig Bowl era would be a wild exercise.
Oh yeah. Meat Hook's in here on Twitter, and he must be watching on Twitter because he's just sending a question asking, how well do we typically recruit in Colorado?
Pretty well.
And pretty darn well, yeah.
Yeah, I think
some great players have come from Colorado. Like one, Andrew Wingard.
I was going to say, one of them's on our coaching staff right now.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And I think having a relationship with Gabe Napton still has benefited Wyoming a little bit too.
Yeah, is Gabe from Colorado? I can't remember. Did we recruit him out of Colorado? Out of Ray or something like that?
Yep, his dad was a Cowboy though too. So
yeah. So, I mean, I can't think of them all in my head because there's been so many players from Colorado, but like Andrew Wingard pops up to my head because he's the most recent, like big time player who came from Colorado. We've had some running backs from Colorado, wide receivers. You name a position, we've had
I
them.
was going to say the Gentrys.
Yeah, the Gentrys were from Colorado, sure.
Yeah, I think we've had a lot of success in Colorado, and I think that's been a priority for Craig Bull's staff. And I think it was even more. Who was the coach we had here for a long time? He was here with Joe Glenn and
Yeah,
Bull, or no, maybe he was here with Marty English.
Alex
That's what I'm thinking of.
English, Marty
Yeah,
English.
he was. Yeah, he was a good pipeline into Colorado for a
Sure.
lot of years.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's another off-season thing we can do because I know there's been some obvious ones that I'm missing off the top of my head
Yeah,
because there's been so many. We'll have to go through the list, but yeah, Colorado's been great for Wyoming mainly because CU doesn't really recruit Colorado all that heavy. They'll hit the big time players, but they don't go after some of the smaller players that like CSU and Wyoming battle over.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see what Dion does in the offseason, if he just tries to build his team through the transfer portal again, or if he actually wants to get out and do some recruiting. He's lost a lot of staff already, so
Yeah.
he might be in trouble.
So we'll add that to our list. Let me write this down so I don't forget. We'll do a QB ranking,
Oh my God, please open up Google Keep and put it in there.
and then we'll do Colorado pokes. Come up with like a list because there's been so many. Maybe we'll do like a top 10.
In what's a not necessarily a live score update, but Cowboy basketball did beat South Dakota Mines 80-59. So
There we go.
Scary halftime number was just a scary halftime number. The Cowboys completely took over in the second half. So
Correct. Yeah. So with football winding down here, we'll have a lot of more time to talk about basketball. We'll talk about some wrestling
in Barnes.
up and going. So a lot to talk about. Women's basketball, of course, too, from time to time.
Yep.
But mainly this is a football show. But we'll talk about the other stuff.
You gonna go to Golden this weekend and go watch Mines and whoever they're playing?
Or are they playing? Is it the semifinal at home?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, I might actually.
Yeah, they had kind of a
They
wild
destroyed Augustana.
Yeah, they had Central Washington last week, and
oh yeah, that's who they played.
Game there.
You're looking at
I think they're at home again this weekend.
They should be because they're the number one team. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting.
I might do that.
I kind of wonder, their quarterback is now like, geez, isn't he like the all-time leading passer in like college football history, like the touchdown leader in college football history, something like that?
I don't know.
Yeah, so they have something called Kutztown this week.
Oh, Kutztown State.
Yeah.
Okay, I might go to that. Yeah. Oh, did they drop the state?
It's just Kutztown.
The game is at 1:30. So if you are a Broncos fan, you will remember that they had a linebacker on the Super Bowl teams, John Mobley, went to Kutztown State.
That is going really old school.
It is. So, yeah, Kutztown. So, I actually may go to that game. It's at 1:30. If the weather's good, I'm going to check that out because I wanted to go last week, but it's freezing cold. So,
yeah, we got ourselves into a snow globe Saturday night at Washington Grizzly. Holy smokes. Super wet, heavy snow, a little bit windy. It was not very much fun.
Let's see, I'm going to see if even tickets are. I saw like it didn't look like the stadium was even close to full last week. So let me see how much tickets will cost me if I want to go to the NCAA Division II semifinals in Golden, Colorado. Looks like tickets are going to cost me $15. I don't know. That's too much.
Oof. Jeez Louise. Yeah.
$15?
That is crazy.
I think I'll go if the weather's good.
Yeah, it was $35 this week to go see Montana and Furman.
Okay, not bad.
So, yeah.
And how much does your regular season tickets cost? More than that?
Man. Jeez.
Like
I think homecoming and Cagras tickets are like upwards of like 85 or 90 a piece.
Mm-hmm.
then like crappy teams like Idaho State or Butler are like 25 or 30.
I got you. Well, very affordable. I remember the day when Wyoming tickets were like $25.
Yeah. We pay a lot for a couple of those premium games for sure.
So, all right. Well, we have been yammering for a long time, but it's great to be back.
I'm not sure when we're going to catch up again, but who is your Heisman Trophy pick?
Me?
Yes.
If I was a voter, I would take the LSU quarterback.
I would too.
Yeah, he's very good.
Who's your playoff winner?
Ridiculous numbers. I don't know. I mean, I would like to say Michigan, but I don't trust. I mean, I don't want to. I don't like Michigan. I don't like Harbaugh. They're cheaters.
Jimmy Khaki Pants.
And they, right? They dropped the ball last year, right? They got just waxed by TCU.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll beat Alabama. I think you're right.
No Connor Stallions anymore.
That's a bad matchup for them. So if it's not, who's the number 2 team? I don't even know.
It's Washington.
Yeah, Washington doesn't do it for me either. I guess
the only time they've looked good in the last few weeks is playing Oregon.
Who's the 3 seed? I can't even remember.
Texas.
Texas. Jeez, everybody's got flaws, huh?
Yeah. Texas took care of business pretty handily against Oklahoma State the other night.
You know what? I'm going to go with Alabama because I think Alabama will beat Michigan. Texas will probably beat Washington just because they're more physical. And then there's no way Texas beats Alabama twice in 1 year. So
yeah,
I don't like it.
I think early season Alabama is a much different team than postseason Alabama right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards Alabama too.
I don't like it, but that's
no, it's disgusting, but I think it's going to happen. Yeah, I don't know. Like Michael Penix hasn't looked that great in the last few weeks, and Texas looked really good against Oklahoma State. So maybe they'll put up a fight, and Michigan. Well, they did shut out Iowa, which no surprise there, I guess.
Yeah, Iowa's offense is
doesn't even exist. So bad. But I don't know. Michigan didn't. They played good against Ohio State, but I don't know. That was a solid win for them, but I just don't know that they're better than Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, Alabama had to pull off some real crap like they always do to get past Auburn. So
I
don't know, man. All these teams are flawed. Every single one of them.
Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe someone proves us wrong. I don't know.
I'm going to stick with Alabama.
Yeah, Alabama seems the most logical to me.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's actually, I think OddsShark has that as what do they have it at?
Yeah, what can you get Bama to win the title? I might pay some money on that. They got to be plus 150 or something.
Well, right now they've got Michigan favored by 1.5, which is much closer than Washington. They have 4.5.
What are the odds to win the playoff?
Oh, OddsShark doesn't have that.
They don't? Oh, okay, hold on. Let's look it up. We've been here this long. Let's look up one more thing, and we'll give it a shot. So let's go NCAA.
Well, actually, let's look at futures. It's probably under futures.
Odds to win playoff. Let's see what we got here. College football futures. Here we go.
Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
Plus 180.
Alabama's plus 190. That's what I got listed here. Yeah, that's worth a bet. Plus 190.
The Huskies at plus 700 be tempting just to throw.
Michigan's plus 170. Texas plus 300. Washington plus 7. Yeah, I think Washington has no chance.
I don't think so either, but it would be.
But it'd be hilarious if the Pac-12 champion won the national title in the last year.
God, that would be
the Pac-12.
That would just be something. It would definitely be something.
Going out on top, the Pac-12.
They have just been crap for so many years, missing the playoffs so many times. And their team that they thought was just going to run through college football this year squeaked into the Holiday Bowl. Like, and here we are, and two guys in the Heisman Trophy, or two guys are finalists for the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah.
Bo Nix and Michael Penix. So
Sure.
yeah, that would be wild and hilarious.
Very much so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to call this WyoNation Roundup a wrap. Thank you, everybody, for watching tonight. Glad to see everyone. And yeah, we'll be back sooner than we were last time. That's for sure. It's a busy time of year, but we will be back. And we'll count down the days to the Wyoming's December 30th matchup against Toledo in the Arizona Bowl. For Brad Reed, I am Chad Smith. Thank you for tuning in to the WyoNation Roundup. And if I can find the button, we'll hit bye. Bye.